Welcome to SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I am Kay-B. It is my pleasure to introduce actor Kaci Walfall of the iconic, yes, I'm already calling it iconic, CW hit series Naomi. How are you, Kaci?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for chatting. I absolutely adore the show. So first off, tell me, what is it like stepping into the role of Naomi? I mean, this is already such a highly regarded character. Obviously the CW verse has been around for a very long time, and I'm a fan of so many of those shows. But this is really one of the first times that I get to see a superhero like Naomi on the CW and in this space. So what is it like being her?
It's an honor. It's like saying, like what you said, like it was even when I got the audition, I was like, whoa, like whoever books this, I'm going to be so proud of them because it's something that we don't see. And I love CW shows like the Arrowverse or just like the superhero shows that they have. So playing that role it's a great challenge, of course, because I'm 17 and it's my first lead role, my first series regular role. But it allowed me to stretch myself as an actor and to stretch myself as a performer and to also learn that I'm able to do it. A lot of times we have doubt, but Naomi is, for example, as a character, she's super confident. And although she does have doubt in herself, she's allowed me to be more confident within my performance and more confident within myself.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, so listen, we have to get into it because on April 26th, we are finally back for the back half of season 1. Yeah. I am so excited. I feel like I've been waiting forever for this to return. So what can you tease a little bit about the family dynamic shift? Because, we all know, and if you guys have not caught up, catch up now and also watch the trailer for the second half. We now know that Naomi's parents are aliens, and this is something that they have been hiding from our girl from the very beginning. So what can you tease about how this shifts their dynamic? Because what I love about the show is how this little trio, these three musketeers, are just so cute. They're so solid, but this is going to be a real test, it feels like.
Yeah, it's going to be a really big test. I think my favorite part of the season 1 is the end of it, which everyone says. Everyone's always like, the finale is my favorite part. And I have so many great memories from like the first couple episodes. But just as like an actor and also like someone who like loves the show, just seeing the end of the season, because especially in that episode, it sets us up for what's going to come. And like I would describe it as like chaos almost. You get to see each character in a setting that they haven't been in before. And people's morals are tested and people's ideas of what they thought of other people. She loves her parents. She never would have thought her parents would do something to hurt her. Like she's been hurt. She's been fighting these villains this whole time and her parents knew and they could have helped her. So I think that really sets her off, and it sets like this family dynamic that you see so much in the pilot, for example. It sets them apart so much. So it was really fun being able to, discover that and also paint that. I think episode 10 is one of my favorite ones, because it was directed by Angel Christie Williams, who is just a great director. And also it allowed me to see a side of Naomi that I never thought I would see. She's this good girl. She loves her parents. She's respectful. And in that episode, she goes a little crazy. And I think that was super fun for me to explore.
Ooh, I love that you say that. Does she cross a few lines with her parents, you think? Because, for all intents and purposes, her trust in them is kind of gone right now, at the end of episode 9. So does she really stand up to them?
I think that she does, as someone who is not rebellious at all, and as someone who is very with her parents all the time and very respectful, she does what she thinks she's supposed to do when she's mad at someone and she's upset with someone. And even if she may not feel like she's supposed to do those actions in her heart, that's what, society has sort of taught her. So I think that her standing up to them, she's standing up to them, but she's standing up to them almost, it's buried in anger. I almost looked at that episode. I remember I kind of like write things on the front of the page of the script. I don't know. That's just how I am. And I remember I wrote sort of like the 5 stages of grief, which sounds really interesting because, nothing crazy happened, but it's sort of like she's grieving with the fact that her parents have been lying to her about her identity her whole life and are okay with her being hurt by that. So in that episode, I kind of set it up into those 5 stages in the script and, found the anger and found all of that within that.
Ooh, I love that you say that because you're right. I mean, she is grieving the loss of what she has always known, right? Up until that point. She's grieving the loss of the relationship as she used to know it. And that dynamic, I think, will forever be changed no matter, kind of what the parents do. And it may get back up there. I mean, obviously, every relationship has peaks and valleys. All families go through things. But right now, this is a low that like she's never experienced before. So I do like that you kind of tapped into the 5 stages of grief because that makes total sense. Mm-hmm. So how does this kind of shift with her parents also impact her friendships? Because something else that we saw in episode 8 and 9, we see the rift between her and Annabelle, and we also see the rift between her and Nathan. So it's really kind of like, the 2 people closest to her right now, those relationships are also really struggling too.
Yeah, they are struggling as she's struggling. You watch these superhero shows and these movies and you see that it affects people around them because it's a different environment for the main character. So she has all of these things to balance. And I think especially in episode 10 and towards the end of the season, it explodes because it's too much on her plate. It's the relationship, it's the friends, it's the parents, it's the powers, it's the villains. Like something is going to give, whether it's schoolwork or it's personal life. So I think that being able to explore that, like she was mad at Annabelle in one of those episodes, which was a lot of fun to explore. But I think what Naomi has to realize is that it's important to take time for yourself. It's just like all of us need to do that as well too. But it's important for her to take time for herself because when she does that, then she'll feel better, especially because of what's going on right now in the show. And, the fight with Nathan and her Nathan was kind of like her control. It was a decision that she made. All these decisions have been made for her. It was a decision that she made. It was like, he didn't have to know about her other life. So it made her feel better about herself. And she was insecure about that. And also it's just a decision that she made. And I think that there's power in that because she hasn't been able to make all these decisions. She didn't choose to find out that she was an alien. So I think her losing that or fighting with that is very hard for her because now she feels like she has no control.
Ooh, I love that you said that. It is really interesting because I do think on this journey, she is really strong, but you're right. So many people have made all of these decisions for her. She is really just trying to figure out who she is. Also, I'm also glad that you mentioned schoolwork because I'm like, where do these kids go to school? Like, who are they?
My parents say. That's what my parents say. They say they when do they go to school? And then they also say, why are they out so late? But also they live in Oregon. I don't know what people are doing in Oregon, but I feel like that would work.
I feel like they're relaxing them because I'm like, now, wait a minute. It's 10 p.m. and the parents are like, we have no idea where our kids are. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why not? Please tell us. But yes, it's so interesting because I do think that like she's carrying the weight of like 5 adults. I don't know any other way to say that, but like for her to be a teenager, she is carrying a lot of pressure and a lot of weight. And it will be interesting to see because I don't know that she is really being her complete self with any one person, even Annabelle. And so, I think that that's going to have to come to a head at the end of the season. I don't know if you can tease that or not, but, she has a lot of people in her corner. Like she has Dee, she has Annabelle, she has her parents, but she's still just picking and choosing the pieces of herself that she wants to reveal to every person. And that has to be like the heaviest burden on earth, it feels like, to weigh because she just can't lay it down.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting because what I love about the relationships in the show is they're all different. As we are as people in real life, I have different relationships with my mom, to my best friend, obviously. So what I think Naomi's really struggling with is personally, she's insecure about herself. And that's what I love about the show so much because it shows vulnerability. And a lot of times when we see these superheroes, especially like even just like Black women are superheroes as well too. And we see this like that we're always supposed to be strong. And of course, Naomi is strong, but there's so much power in vulnerability. So I think that she has to, at the end of the season, what I can tease is she just has to be more honest with herself and be more honest with the relationships around her and be like, hey, I am not super confident in myself right now. And that's what I love. As I said, that's what I love about the show. It's a superhero show, but we see the superhero who's not so confident in ourselves. And sometimes we see these superhero movies and we're like, I wish I was like them because there's something so much bigger than us. But I think that there's greatness when the superhero has a great heart that we can all relate to.
Yes, I love it. And she definitely does. Okay, so let's talk about Commander Steele, though. So, at the end of episode 9, wait, he's not gone, right? But he is down, for lack of a better phrase. So it's so interesting because I do feel like over the course of the first half of the season, the people that Naomi assumed were villains weren't necessarily the villains. And now it's kind of like, Commander Steele. So he might be down, but who is the person that she should really be worried about in the back half? I mean, because, we still have this dilastol, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but we still have the issue of the dilastol. Okay, thank you. We still have the issue of the dilastol, and we still have Commander Steele's agenda. So whether or not he is actually the one carrying that out, who knows? But I feel like, who's the real villain in the back half of the season?
I think, well, first of all, that scene was a lot of fun to film with the guy named Brian who plays Commander Steele. It's so funny because I'm the only minor. I'm still a minor. I'm turning 18 soon. It's quite sad. I was the only minor on set, so I'd have to go to school and then I have to go to work. So he was almost in all these episodes, but I never saw him. I think I saw him once in the trailer. I never even worked with him. So working with him on that scene was super fun. But I think what I've kind of like always thought about since the beginning is there's all these outside villains, but she really needs to go in her inner circle and figure out who's really for her and who's not. And so you see that at the end of the season, and there's a really big cliffhanger at the end of the season, what I can say. So I think she has to trust everyone around her because she has problems with trusting people, but also find out their intentions and why they really are surrounding themselves with her.
Ooh, that's good. So what I'm hearing is that there's going to be a shakeup. I like to affectionately call them the Scooby Gang 2.0, but it definitely is a little bit of shakeup with the Scooby Gang 2.0 because it's true. I mean, there's so many of them involved, and she's sharing like some information with some of them, and then others are figuring it out, and it's kind of like, okay, what is happening? And I'll be honest. Sometimes I look at Anthony like, I don't know, like what are the motives here?
Yeah, we laugh at that because I'm not on Twitter, but we'll laugh at like the tweets because people always think that Anthony's so sus all the time. And I love Will, who plays Anthony, but people find out things, especially in small towns. So everyone has almost had a different reaction to finding out about Naomi's superpowers. So I think that it'll be really interesting if more people do find out towards the end of the season.
Yeah, you know what I think it is? I think it's the fact that Anthony always has an answer for it. Like, if there's something being questioned, like we saw in episode 9 when they are playing the game and, she's going around, Anthony always has an answer, like, immediately. And I'm like, no one always has an answer, like, ready to go. So what is the truth, Anthony? Like, I'm sure Will is lovely, but, we want to know what the truth is with Anthony specifically.
Yeah, I think everyone has their pick of who they don't trust. And I won't say who it is, but I think that it's very interesting when people, like my friends, will even do that. Like they'll tell me who they think it is and who's like sort of betraying her. And I think that that's super funny.
Yes. Okay. Now listen. In the very beginning, before the show even premiered, I had the pleasure of listening to each of you speak on a panel, and Ava mentioned, crossover was not really in the works quite yet. But I have to ask, because Star Labs has become its own character on the show, and there's so many different things. And we obviously know Star Labs, the iconic lab in The Flash, owned by The Flash, although, another question, how does he pay for it? But still, we want to know. So what is the connection with Star Labs? Like, will we get more on that in the back half of this season? Because I am trying to figure out, I'm like, listen, everybody keeps saying what happened at Star Labs, and we as the audience don't know yet. So what can you tease about that?
I think that it was, I think when I first read that script, I think the Star Labs first came up in episode 6, and I watched The Flash. So I I loved that show, and I still do. And I saw Star Labs and I was like, am I going to Canada? We shoot in Atlanta, they shoot in Canada, and I was so excited. And, Ava and Jill have always talked about in the first season, they wanted Naomi to kind of live in her own universe, because I think that there's a power in her not having a Superman to call to or a Flash to call to and having to learn from herself and Dee, who doesn't know everything. And I think that is great for character development. but we've always joked about doing crossovers, hopefully if we get another season, or just like appearing with people, because I've talked to like Javicia and she's the sweetest, and you know, Breck, and you know, I would love to do that. But I think that the Star Labs, our Star Labs is in a different universe, but definitely you will find out more about our Star Labs towards the end of the season.
Ooh, yes. Like, I need to know more. I need to know the connection. And you know what? I'm right there gunning with you. Again, I'm a huge fan of the shows too. So I hope you get to work with Javicia. I hope you get to work with Candace and Grant and everyone, because I think a crossover would be really, really fun. And, you know, as you know, the CW crossovers are wild and anything can happen. So yes, amazing. Well, my last question really is, you know, at the end of this season, what do you hope fans take away from the show? And also, what do you want the impact and the legacy of Naomi to be?
That's a good question. I think what I hope fans take away from the show is really just our line that we have on all the posters and stuff. And I always see the bus. The bus is by my school, the Naomi bus. So it's so funny when I'm out to lunch with my friends and then the bus flies by. It feels very good. But I always see the "don't believe everything you think" line on it. At the cliffhanger at the end of the season, don't believe everything you think. And also to find the power within yourself is really important, and find your uniqueness and find your strength and know that you're not weak. But I think don't believe everything you think is important, because I remember the first time I sat down with Ms. Ava, we had lunch in LA. I hadn't booked the show yet, but I was in the running for it. And she flew me and my mom out to LA. She's like the sweetest person ever. And we had lunch. And she started talking about that "don't believe everything you think." And I think that for especially my generation, you know, with social media and everything like that, don't believe everything you think, don't believe everything you see. Really trust within yourself and know that that's what you should believe. And it's always important to educate yourself, but don't believe everything you think. And I think that is, or you see, you know, online, for example. I think that is something that I really hope people take away. And I also hope people take away that your power is within yourself and your uniqueness is your strength. And that's much easier said than done, but it's truly important. And then what I hope the legacy of Naomi is, that's a hard question. I think what's really cool about it is that it is one of the first shows that you see that has a young Black girl who's a superhero. And what I love, I said this before, what I love about it is that you get to see this girl who has strength and vulnerability, and that is portrayed. And that's what I love so much about Miss Ava's projects. They allow us to be seen differently on television in reflection of how we are in real life. So I think I hope that legacy of that just strength and vulnerability, and also that, you know, there's so many different kinds of superheroes. It's like whether you're talking about like the DC universe and all that, but also just in real life, like we're all superheroes in a way. So I hope that people take away that there's different kinds of superheroes and there's certain stories that should be told, and that just don't believe everything you think and trust within yourself.
Oh, I love that. And it's so true. Listen, I think that you are doing a phenomenal job as Naomi on this show. And, you know, I am rooting for you amongst a group of tons of other people. We are hoping for a season 2. We cannot wait to see the remaining episodes starting April 26th. So, I mean, just thank you for all of the work that you and the cast and crew have done. I mean, honestly, this feels like kismet. It feels like the perfect role for you. So thank you. And on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, process, and craft with your fellow performers.